Warning: the following video will contain material that might be considered offensive to man-children, fanboys, and basement dwellers all across the world. If you cannot take rational criticism of your favorite things, then leave now and go complain on another comment section. As for the rest of you, please enjoy.
Too bad they don't make them like they used to anymore. Oh! Why hello there. Happy New Year, everybody. Yeah, I know this channel's been on a 2-month-long hiatus, but that was either because of holidays, life, school, work, all the above, etc. Whatever. It don't matter, because now we're in 2017. I've changed a lot. Now, you could be expecting a whole lot more content coming from us come 2017, now that a lot of things have been resolved. And in between the time we last uploaded and now, we actually gained subscribers, almost twice as many as we had when we made our last video. So whoever that is, thank you guys so much, because that means you believe in what Chad and I are doing, and we will not let you down. And this is our very first video of 2017. Actually, this is all me, so my opinions in this do not reflect Chad's, so just keep that in mind. And yeah, let's just get right into the video.
So over break, I saw Rogue One. It was hands down my most anticipated movie of the year, right behind Suicide Squad. And yeah, we know how that one turned out. With both Suicide Squad and Batman v Superman both being overwhelmingly disappointing movies to have been released in 2016, it was only logical to put all my faith into Rogue One, the very last movie of the year that I felt that I needed to watch. The teaser trailer from earlier in the year made me tear up every time I saw it. This was a Star Wars film I had been waiting for my whole life without even knowing it. Star Wars meets Saving Private Ryan. I go watch it, and yeah, no, I was not too happy with the final product.
Now, before your Twitter fingers turn to trigger fingers, just let me explain myself. Rogue One is not the worst movie I have ever seen. Trust me, I've seen plenty that are worse.
I just think it was boring as shit, poorly edited, tonally inconsistent, characters that are arguably worse than those in the prequels, and the list goes on. I even started working on a video about how I would have made the movie, taking heavy influence from what was shown in the trailers, most of it not even ending up in the actual movie, but anyways, I deemed it too long and uninteresting, so it is now sitting in a file on my computer, waiting to be dusted off one day. Fast forward to 2017, and the very first movie I watched was Norm of the North. Why that? Because fuck it, that's why. I read the reviews and they all went on about how terrible this movie was, and between you and me, I get turned on towards bad movies. It was free on Amazon Prime, and I gave it a shot. After all, it's not like I paid to see it. Once the movie ended, I came to the shocking conclusion that I did not absolutely hate it like the critics did. In fact, I actually kinda liked it in a fucked up way. Now, before you go clicking that dislike button in ignorance, let me tell you how I'll be structuring this video. I'll briefly go over both Rogue One and Norm of the North, acknowledging each movie's strengths and how one does a certain aspect better than the other one does. And now without further ado, let the salt commence. Part 1. The Openings. So Rogue One opens well enough with a great value Inglourious Basterds scene where people are hiding and an evil man talks to the owner of the land that he is searching. Daddy Urso and the evil guy in white.
Yeah, the movie's so fucking forgettable I can't even remember most of the characters' names. AKA the one thing you should at least know about characters. God damn.
Are talking after Mama and Jin hide. For seemingly no reason, the mother comes out of hiding with a blaster in her hand, causing the black, dark, whatever you want to call them troopers to open fire on her, killing the shit out of her. This pointless death is one of many quote-unquote emotional scenes that left me feeling nothing except for sleepy, because Jesus fucking Christ does none of it work. Besides the death of the mother, the opening scene overall is well done. The cinematography is beautiful, the characters are instantly established, and it is a Star Wars opening unlike any of the other films in the series so far.
Now this shit was Citizen Kane compared to Norm of the North's fucking opening.
The film starts out with CGI made on a middle schooler's MacBook from 1996 and shitty voice acting from Rob Schneider.
Yeah, having Rob Schneider on your poster as your main selling point is the same as Subway making advertisements saying, now with 100% chlamydia. Fuck.
His very first lines or actually almost every line he gives, are delivered in such a lackluster way that does nothing to alter the stigma that comes with a fucking Rob Schneider movie. Fun fact, he was also in a little Great Value version of Planes called... I don't even know what the fuck it's called, just look at the photo here. I mean, who the fuck keeps hiring this guy to do voice acting? Is fucking Adam Sandler the head of all these animation companies? Anyways, he then goes off to chase a seal, really bad slapstick ensues, the ugliest polar bear ever put in cinemas is shoehorned in as a love interest for Norm, etc. Then, one of the stupidest jokes I have ever seen in a movie takes place. Norm slips on ice and says, "Jeez, it's like pure ice up here, you know? In the fucking Arctic, you dumb motherfucker." Before I go off on a rant, let me finish explaining this pathetic excuse for humor. After that, he says, "An accident waiting to happen, you know? Someone should really do something about it." Here, we are introduced to what is essentially this film's version of the Minions, but not as annoying, the Lemmings. Similarly to Norm, they are given a shitty-ass introduction. They come into the scene wearing construction worker attire, and they put fucking blockades around where Norm slips along with the slippery floor type sign. After that, the joke literally goes nowhere. Norm literally just says, anyways, like the most retarded shit ever didn't just take place. I don't know if this was trying to be a joke of some sort, but it was so goddamn pointless and stupid that I almost shot my fucking brains out watching this scene.
The movie is only an hour and a half long, so throwing in pointless shit like that makes the first impression even worse, because it shows that out of all the small time you have to do something good, make a good movie, you choose shit. You choose fucking shit like that. Fuck.
Fun fact, this movie was in development hell for 6 years, going through multiple writers throughout. In the end, there are 3 credited writers for the film, and it really shows. This is the first of many instances where the events that take place make no sense and come out of nowhere, making the movie feel like shit being thrown into a blender and poured back into my asshole just to be shat out again on a film strip for it to be distributed to different theaters. Anyways, the chase continues a little more and Norm catches up to him. He's about to eat the seal until it turns out he's too much of a pussy to eat him, causing all his critter friends to laugh at him. Hell, Norm's character is so poorly established that you can't help but laugh at the pathetic fucker for being so unlikable. So, comparing the two openings, Rogue One is the clear winner here. It makes sense, leaves a good first impression despite its flaw, and it doesn't come off as a pathetic excuse for cinema like Norm of the North's opening. Part 2. The pacing. After Rogue One's opening scene, the film becomes a complete disaster. I would love to go into detail about what exactly happens, but I don't remember what happens because I was too busy trying to stay awake in the theater for the next hour. All I remember is Diego Luna killing a dude who complied to his questioning, Forrest Whitaker using his tentacle porn toys on the defect pilot, causing him to go loco for like 5 seconds, some shit blows up, K2SO says some unfunny dialogue every time he gets a chance to talk, Forrest Whitaker pointlessly dies even though in previous scenes he's established as an extremist against the Empire who would stop at nothing to defeat them. I guess he changed his mind by the end of the scene? And some other stuff happens, I guess. A dead guy's body was being played with like a puppet using CGI because Disney couldn't resist keeping him out of the film. Jin's dad also gets pointlessly killed off, noticing a trend here, and then the third act kicks in and is, for the most part I guess, very entertaining. The space battle is epic, while the battle on the beach is pretty good, but nowhere near what was promised in the promotional material leading up to the film. Everyone dies, Darth Vader gets the fucking best scene ever, and CGI Leia makes me feel weird inside. Rest in peace, you sweet angel Carrie Fisher. In case you haven't noticed, I found the movie overall to be very forgetful. I didn't even care what was going on the whole time, and that is for many reasons, including the pace. It was excruciatingly slow for the first hour and a half, relying on unlikable characters to talk and occasionally blow stuff up in unspectacular scenes. Nothing of significance happens, and it never feels like it's leading up to anything until the end of the second act, which is far too late for a film to start picking up steam. By that time, my mind had already checked out and I stopped caring about anything that was happening. Pacing is key to making a movie retain a viewer's attention, and this was the same problem Batman v Superman had. Both movies are way too long for being what they are, implemented plot elements that could be entirely removed and wouldn't make a difference, and bored the shit out of me. People call this movie the second best Star Wars movie, right behind The Empire Strikes Back, solely because of the third act. In many reviews I've read, they say, the movie starts off at a slow pace, but when the battle starts it becomes spectacular. 10 out of 10. Like, what the fuck? No. Just because you really like one part of a movie doesn't mean you can disregard every other part that you don't like. A movie is a movie, and when criticizing it, you have to take everything into consideration. It's fine to feel different ways about different parts of a movie, but when your opinion of it is entirely represented by one battle sequence, then your opinion just comes off as one of a jaded fanboys.
Now let's move on to Norm of the North's pacing. This should be good.
From the moment it starts, Norm of the North moves at a rapid pace, which I sorta like because this movie is flawed as shit. While Rogue One spent way too long on its shitty scenes, Norm of the North spends about a minute on shitty scenes, then moving on to less shitty scenes. The fast pace gives this movie an advantage because it gets exposition out of the way rather quickly, unlike Suicide Squad.
We're some kind of Suicide Squad.
He said it!
And it leaves room for shit to happen. Character motivations are half-assedly thrown at the audience, but at least it's more character development than what Rogue One gave us. Even these two tweets show better fucking character development. We also learn that Norm and his grandpa are the only polar bears that can speak to humans, and this is shown in a shitty-ass flashback where Norm talks to a human girl, which then prompts the girl to casually respond like it was something in the norm.
Oh, fuck you, I'm trying to make jokes as hard as this movie is.
The scene is fucking stupid, but like I said, lasts like a minute, so it's no skin off my ass. There's a bird named Socrates who's also a therapist for no reason, really. And that's when we learn about the grandpa. And this chick, a head of marketing or something like that, comes along with a film crew to shoot a commercial in the Antarctic for houses that a dude named Mr. Green wants to build there. We then meet the chick's daughter, Olympia, who is probably the best character in the film. She is a genius little girl who also doesn't want her mom destroying the environment by helping to put the homes in the Arctic. Here, her character is more developed and she's already even more likable than anyone in Rogue One, except for maybe Donnie Yen, the shooty guy in that pilot. Those guys are fucking great. And yeah, other shit happens, but I don't care about any of it. Once the film gets into the second act, it becomes surprisingly enjoyable. I was watching the movie with my little sister, and when Norm was about to leave for New York, I turned to her and said, "Hey, how much you want to bet this movie will turn even bigger shit once they get to New York?" And we both agreed that this would indeed be the case. Though the first act had a few good laughs, it was overall very poor. To my surprise, the film finds a good pace once it transitioned to New York. The plot advances and there are no pointless scenes dedicated to the lemmings doing wacky things, similarly to how the Despicable Me movies would dedicate scenes to the minions doing random shit solely because they're the most marketable characters in the franchise. Norm of the North even takes a jab at the minions, clearly acknowledging their influence on how the lemmings work in this movie. In one scene, the chick from earlier sees the lemmings and calls them, quote, adorable and especially marketable or something like that. I like to imagine that this is exactly what people at Illumination Entertainment said when creating the minions, and now look at what they've become. It's good, not too in-your-face humor, and these kinds of jokes are surprisingly the most prominent kind in the film. In the first act, the few jokes that worked were all dialogue-based. In the second act, the dialogue is even funnier, and even some of the slapstick gets some giggles out of me in its weirdness. So once Norm somehow convinces the dumbasses, aka the entire population of New York, that he's not a real bear, then he just kind of becomes famous overnight and gets to live in a house that he's trying to prevent Mr. Green from putting in the Arctic. The Lord works in mysterious ways, doesn't he? Because the movie stays focused, it never gets boring, immediately giving the edge to this movie over Rogue One in terms of pacing.
Still does not excuse the shitty quality of the third act that goes back to being as bad as the first, but somehow manages to end up being even worse. Worse!
When the climax of the movie starts, shit hits the fan. The rapid pace then proves to be the film's Achilles heel, making the events happen out of nowhere. The Lemmings take a USB that for some reason
with like
Norm becomes
69
more
of them, but then
famous,
immediately
but doesn't
wakes
ever
up once
use
he's
it to
on
make
that house,
people
showing that
aware of the
literally
bad
not
shit to
even a
save his
minute has
grandpa.
passed.
Wow, holy fuck, this third act sucks, fish clitoris. In a rather commendable moment, on the other hand, Olympia and her mom are given a short scene to show that Olympia got into her dream school and her mom now works at a better job. They look out the window and briefly mention how much they miss Norm. Now that he's king, the polar bitch from earlier decides to let him impregnate her, and now they have 2 kids together. Standing there with his family, he looks up at the sky and mentions how he misses Olympia and her mom too. I don't even care, I'm keeping that in. It then pans to the northern lights, and it actually makes for a cute ending. Oh wait, what? That wasn't it? Motherfucker, there's a whole other scene where Norm twerks for the Lemmings and stupid shit, and it goes on longer than it needs to, and then it just cuts to the credits! That's it! For fuck's sakes, you guys almost redeemed your shitty third act, but no! You just had to include the shitty sudding arse humor that only made me want to stick a hot knife through my anus! God damn it, Norm of the North. But yeah, I hope you noticed something. I was able to mention and recall much more from Norm of the North than I was able to about Rogue One. You know why? Because one was boring as shit, and the other was actually entertaining despite its major flaws. In Rogue One, the third act is good, but the build up to it is so not worth the wait. In Norm of the North, it moves fast enough so that sitting through the excruciating parts isn't so bad because a better joke is always on the horizon. Except for the third act. Fuck the third act. Earlier I mentioned there being 3 credited writers for the film. My theory is that the first one was brain dead and forgot how to structure a story, resulting in the first act. The second writer actually tried creating a solid second act. The third writer, he just shoved the computer down a sewage drain, pulled out the keyboard with his teeth, clicked print, crumpled up the screenplay into paper balls, and threw them into the carcass of a dead skunk, and then pulled them out and handed them over to producers. Yeah, mixing these 3 writers up resulted in what is a movie that had a heart and great potential, but no means of executing any of it well.
Sounds really similar to another film I just talked about.
Fun fact, about 50% of Rogue One was reshot, which is why I feel like the trailers were actually from the original movie before the second director came in and was in charge of the editing of the reshoots or some shit like that. This made both films feel lackluster and incoherent, but like I said, I still give the pacing point to Norm of the North. Speaking of editing, Part 3, Editing. When Jin and Diego Luna are on the beach and the Death Star's ray explosion is coming towards them, one of the worst editing instances, or lack thereof, I've ever seen takes place. At the last second, Diego Luna looks directly at the fucking screen. I'm not even kidding you. He literally looks at the camera in a fourth breaking wall moment, and then the screen becomes completely bright. In a scene where you're supposed to be holding Jin, you're supposed to feel emotion that your heroes are dying, and he just looks up as if he just wants to fucking get out of there already. I read that with the reshoots, the ending was completely changed, and I believe it based off of this edit alone. It felt rushed, and the look on his face made it look like he looked towards the camera about to say, "Can we fucking go home yet? I want to see my niño." Most of the time, the actors look like they don't want to be there, and it's probably because they were all fucking sick of having to do reshoots for a film that was probably already finished. In Norm of the North's case, the editing just kind of fucking sucks overall. The pace is so fast that scenes are constantly changing, and in the third act, the editing makes following the story so confusing if you even dare take your eyes off the screen for 30 seconds. I award no points for editing to either movie, and may God have mercy on your souls. Part 4, Visual Design. Rogue One is fucking beautiful. It's well made in terms of costumes, sets, lighting, cinematography, and everything else a good movie should have. Well, besides good characters, a good story, good pacing, but I don't need to get back into that. Some of the shot composition here is the best I've seen all year. I am a huge fan of film, so in the scene where we first see Vader, I remember seeing white suit guy positioned to the right of the screen with a lot of negative space on the left, thinking, please dear God, let this be a shot where it's just Vader's big ass shadow covering the wall to the left, and sure enough, that's exactly what happened. The little things like that, along with the repeated shot of a ship leaving, or a wide shot of a ship leaving Yavin 4 with a rebel on a tower looking off in the distance and everything is out of focus except for the ship are what made me still want to watch the movie, despite how bored I was. Also, the CGI was fucking incredible, for the most part. When the Death Stars tested on that first planet, it legit all looked real. The destruction was truly amazing, and it just really shows how far we've come with CGI technology. The only bad instance of CGI, perhaps one of the many major flaws in the film, is of Tarkin. He just looks like a fucking character in Civilization 6 that somehow escaped, and I never felt like he was actually there. The fact that he's in so many scenes is so jarring because 1, the CGI won't hold up in 10 years, hell, maybe even 5 years. 2, the guy who played him in the original trilogy is dead, so reviving him with CGI and parading it around to me just seems disrespectful. I don't know, that just might be me though.
Moving on from that, can we just talk about how many practical effects were used in this movie?
The ships looked plastic as shit and it was fucking glorious. I loved every second that Imperial ships were on screen. They looked just like the ones I had as a kid, the toy ones. Also, much of the film was shot on location instead of just green screening everything like the prequel trilogy did. Though Rogue One is a bad movie, you can't deny how amazing the visual design is. I hope this gets nominated for many Oscars this year because it truly deserves at least one. I don't think Norm of the North will be nominated for any though. The CG looks outdated and the animation is something akin to those of Illuminati entertainment films. First, the Minions, and now the animation style? Y'all gotta stop stealing shit from the wrong people, bruh. Illumination is fucking trash, so why try to be like them? The bland, over-hyper character animation does not work in this film, especially with Mr. Green, who at some points literally fucking swims and slithers around like a snake instead of walking. It's unnecessary and feels so out of place when the facial expressions of every character aren't as expressive as their movements.
Now, I've analyzed both films along with their strengths and weaknesses. If you thought that score I've been keeping matters, guess what? It doesn't. Scores were just meant to highlight each section's argument that I was trying to make for each movie. But if you want the score to mean something, I'll give you this much.
Based off of the points, Rogue One is definitely the better film, but since we live in the timeline where the points don't matter, I give my vote to Norm of the North. Why? Because it all comes down to which one would you rather watch if you saw it come across TV while you're flipping through channels. Neither deserves your money, so if you came across either one for free, I would recommend Norm of the North first because despite all of its major flaws, it still manages to be entertaining for the most part, gives both parents and kids a few laughs once in a while, and it's completely harmless, has no reputation to tarnish, no standards or anything like that. If you prefer Rogue One and don't agree with my opinion, that's totally fine. You are entitled to your own beliefs because this is America, god damn it! The movies are so different from one another that it's hard to compare the two, but after watching this video, I hope you have come to learn a bit more about each movie and see them in a new light. If in 6 years from now it's too hot to go outside during the summer and you want to see a well-made film minus entertainment value and a good story, go check out Rogue One on FX. If you want to watch a shitty but somehow entertaining movie in 6 months from now, go to the hobo on the corner in Chicago and trade him a Spicy McChicken for a bootleg copy of Norm of the North.
So there you guys have it. A long, excruciating video, I know, but imagine how long it took to make this goddamn thing. I hope you guys went into it with an open mind and came out either considering my view, knowing that your view is better than mine, or just watching it for pure entertainment purposes, you know? I don't know what to tell you. You enjoy content how you want. So, if you've made it up to this video, shout out to you. Or I mean, this point in the video, shout out to you because that means you're interested. And if you like this kind of content, why don't you click that subscribe button? Maybe even the like button. I don't know how YouTube works anymore. But for sure, click that subscribe button. Maybe that little bell button somewhere around here. I don't click the bell button, I just subscribe because it works for me. But anyways, yeah, just take care of those things and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.
Far longer than forever, I'll hold you in